Oh, and continuing the trend, Zack Snyder's not coming back. He has not been coy about saying this. We need to squash these rumors at all costs because it's damaging. I'm losing my mind. Oh, okay, nerds. We have to play a little bit of catch-up, so we're probably going to go a little bit fast. That is kind of the nature of a catch-up episode when I didn't have the time last time to do the thing. So, yeah, thank you very much for joining me. Before we jump into the intro, I just want to remind you, if you have not already, please click the subscribe button and don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. Let them know that you want to know all of the nerdiness that is as apolitical as possible. Thank you very much, nerds. All right, now, intro. No real housekeeping to speak of. Thumbs up if you like what I'm trying to do, I guess, is really all the housekeeping we got. And then we're jumping into music news. Music news is short, considering it is technically 2 episodes worth of music news. First up is something we touched on in the Nerdy Recommends episode last time, and that is Scion. Jared Dines and Howard Jones' project has released their first single. It is pretty freaking awesome. Link down in the description if you're interested. Just go check it out because, yes. Atreyu is the next piece, and they have released their next single off of their new record. It's called Warrior. This is the track that is featuring Travis Barker. So I have yet to do it yet to watch it or listen to it because I want to do a reaction video for it. So link in the description. Our next piece is Disturbed. This one's going to take a second longer than the previous 2, but... So, Disturbed is making me feel like an old man because the 20th anniversary tour for their record, The Sickness, which is the record that they blew up on, was supposed to happen last year, but no touring happened last year because it's 2020, the Eater of Souls. So because of that, they postponed their 20th anniversary tour. Well, they just made the announcement about 2 days ago that is no longer postponed. It is now officially canceled. It is not happening. So Disturbed fans, I'm sorry. It is what it is. Hopefully they will do something to commemorate 20 years making this record. Until then, though, that's all we got for the follow-up section. Now, in the news section, let's talk Grammys for just a moment, shall we? We're not going to get into any of the politics. We're just going to get in some raw data. I did not watch the Grammys. This is probably the second year in a row that I did not watch the Grammys. I used to watch all of the awards ceremonies, and then it kind of dawned on me that this is just a bunch of rich people giving each other really expensive awards for doing things that really they're just so disconnected from the people they're selling their stuff to that they don't have any idea what's really going on in the world. Anyway, so the only reason I put this in here is because we're going to talk about the ratings. So before the Grammys earlier this week, the lowest rated Grammys of the last, I believe, 2 or 3 decades was 2006, and it was 17 million viewers. 17 million. The Grammys that happened at the beginning of this week, 7.8 million viewers. Less than half. Yeah, something's got to change in the music industry because obviously we don't really care about you guys giving each other awards. Yeah, I really just had to put that in here. That is all we have for music news, though, nerds. Next, we're getting into gaming and tech. We do have one follow-up in gaming and tech, and that has to do with Halo Infinite. This is a really interesting piece. In Halo Infinite, 343 Industries they keep saying they want you to feel like you're playing a Halo game. We want you to feel like you're playing a Halo game. That's very important to us because apparently that's not what happened with 5, which I still haven't played. Like, just don't really care about 5. I'm Master Chief Collection or nothing for me. So Halo Infinite, 343 just made the announcement that there is not going to be dual wielding in Infinite, nor is there going to be playable elites. So this could kind of be viewed as a step backwards because all of the early games, the first game and then the game that canonically is placed before the first game, Reach, and I believe ODST also, which is after the third game, or during the third game, whatever. Those are the games that you cannot dual wield. So in Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo 4, again, I couldn't care less about Halo 5, so I don't know. In those 3 games, though, the games moving forward in the timeline, which presumably is what Halo Infinite is doing, you can dual wield in all 3 of those games. Again, 2, 3, and 4. So why? They say it's because they want to focus on a balanced gameplay experience. I think they're just trying to find and rekindle the magic that was Combat Evolved and then try and evolve beyond that, which is going to be very difficult because they've kind of been on a pretty sharp downhill slope, and except for Master Chief Collection. I feel like they kind of struck gold there, but that largely has nothing to do with them, so whatever. So yeah, that's what we have for follow-ups. First piece in the news portion of Gaming and Tech is probably my favorite new Ninja Turtles game, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's called Shredder's Revenge. Oh my God, go check out the trailer. Side scroller, just like it looks very similar. I'm not going to say just. It looks very similar, artistically speaking and gameplay speaking, to the old school arcade that we all know and love, to the, I believe is the NES or the NES, because kids are weird. The NES version of that arcade port looks very similar to that, only better colors, obviously, and just looks so awesome. This is fan service written all over it. I can't see anything wrong with that, though. So long as they get the gameplay solid, we probably won't have anything to complain about. That's all we've got on that one. We're moving next to Nikon. This one is more tech, obviously. Z9 has officially been announced. So no official stats on the camera just yet. This was the announcement that they're developing the Z9, not the announcement that the Z9 is coming out, because Nikon likes to make really stupid early announcements, so we probably won't actually see this camera until at the very earliest, the end of this year, more likely probably the beginning to middle of next year, 2022. But it leaked a million times online before we got to the official announcement, so it's pretty significant, I guess, that we got to the official announcement. Our next piece is Outer Worlds. This one, technically, I guess, is a follow-up, but whatever. Murder on Eridanos. I need to play this game. I'm sorry. The next DLC for this RPG, they are actively still supporting this. I love that. It's definitely worth a check out if you are playing this game. I know as soon as I get on this, I'm going to have so much catching up to do, but it's going to be very much worth it. And then our final piece has to do with the PlayStation 4. So the PlayStation 4 Communities tab is going slowly the way of the buffalo. And by slowly, I mean it's going to be gone in April. The PlayStation 4, they're moving over to PlayStation 5 support, so the fact that they even still have this is kind of significant, but they are phasing it out as of April 1st. So if you are attached to your Communities tab on this is not to say that you will not be able to play multiplayer. This is not to say that any other online activities will not be able to happen on your PS4. You just simply won't have that social element available to you. So that is all we have for Gaming and Tech, nerds. Comic Books and Books is going to be relatively short. First, we have a follow-up on the comic book titled Batman: The Adventure Continues. It seems that a second season of sorts has been announced. DC is saying that there will be a second. I believe they're even calling it season. It's the continuation of the the series that everybody loved, the animated series that everybody loved, Batman the Animated Series. It's just in comic book form. And this first season, quote unquote, happened and everybody loved it. So they're moving to it's basically arcs. The season is an arc. This season is going to deal with the Court of the Owls, which is pretty freaking cool. I'm definitely interested to see what happens there. So the physical release of the first book in season 2, or season, I guess it would be like 11, 12, something, will be released June 1st, and then the digital release is obviously going to be before that, and it is May 6th. So if you are really digging this story, as you should, then you are going to be getting at least another 6 physical issues, and then I believe that translates into 12 digital issues. That is what we have for follow-ups. Our next piece is the announcement from Marvel about a new book, Gamma Flight, which is a subsidiary group to Alpha Flight, sorry, I had to swallow, is getting its own spin-off book, which is kind of significant. If you are unfamiliar with Gamma Flight, the characters in Gamma Flight are Puck, the Absorbing Man, Titania, Doc Sasquatch, Dr. Charlene McGowan, and Rick Jones. The writing team, it's going to be 2 writers, Ewing and Crystal Frasier, and then artist is going to be Medina. That might have been Landon. I think I might have cut his name short in my notes, and I apologize. Book 1 is going to be out June 23rd. Very interested to see what goes on there. Announcements, that's all we got. Moving right along. Let's talk TV streaming, nerds. So we have a couple follow-ups, like you would. So we touched, this has been a long time ago, and we haven't really heard anything from it for a while, but Wild Cards, which is George R.R. Martin's other giant book series. This one's science fiction, starts off as alternate history, and then moves into a near future, kind of really awesome superhero situation. The series is now going to be on Peacock and not Hulu. The last time we reported on this, it was switching from Showtime, I believe, to Hulu. So it's still somewhere in development because these streamers are trying to actively get their hands on it, probably because it has George R.R. Martin's name attached to it. But either way, if you haven't read the Wild Cards books, please do. They're kind of amazing, and they're not exclusively, I should say, written by George R.R. Martin. They're a collection of short stories, kind of. That it's really confusing. It's honestly just a book written by about 6 authors, and they each write a section of the book, and those sections then get intermingled by Martin himself, who also writes a section of his own. So he is credited as writer and editor, and then the other authors are credited as just writers. It's pretty freaking cool. I know I'm not describing it in a way that does it justice, but it is one of my favorite science fiction series in books by far. Honestly, it's great. There's like 26 books, too, so you could be reading them forever. Our next piece, sorry, I'm rambling. Our next piece has to do with What We Do in the Shadows. This one's really quick. FX has announced that they have renewed the series for its 4th season. So, vampire fans rejoice. Our last piece in the follow-up section is Outlander. Again, very quickly, 7th season has been officially announced to be happening, so they got renewed as well. Congratulations to both What We Do in the Shadows and Outlander. Our first piece of news has to do with Secret Invasion. This is our first official piece of news about this series, which is pretty freaking awesome, aside from the things that they already announced when they announced that the series was happening. Kingsley Ben-Adir has been cast as a villain in the series. They did not say the villain, so everyone's saying that, oh, he's probably going to play the Super Skrull. While that's potentially gonna happen because we might get the Skrull Queen as the villain, we don't know that for certain. That would be speculation, so we're not going to talk about that here, and we actually don't have that in the rumor mill. So there's your little brief glimpse of the rumor that is surrounding Kingsley Ben-Adir. But yeah, pretty freaking cool. Starting to get some more casting beyond just Samuel L. Jackson and the like. So yeah, moving right along though. We have our last piece is based on the book Let the Right One In. This might sound familiar to you horror genre buffs because this actually has been a movie twice. So there's the French version of it. It's a book written by a French author, so it makes sense that it was adapted to a French film first. But then it was also adapted into the movie Let Me In, which I believe had Chloe Grace Moretz playing the main little vampire. This was when Chloe Grace Moretz was still pretty young. It has to do with a very young vampire that befriends a very young human child and basically takes care of him. And they're turning it into a series. Potentially. So Showtime has optioned for a pilot. They have not optioned a season. They've just optioned one episode for this, which very well could evolve into a series. They have brought in Damien Bichir, Damien Bichir has been cast as the lead in the series. I would assume he's the kid. I didn't really look that deep into this. I just thought it was a really cool announcement. Godzilla vs. Kong is the biggest other piece of nerd cred that he has on his resume. So pretty interesting as this evolves. If it goes beyond just a pilot, we will definitely be keeping tabs on it because it's a pretty decent movie. I to be honest, haven't read the book, but I've seen both the French and the English versions of the movie. So go check it out. That's all we've got for TV streaming. Now let's talk movies. We have one follow-up, and it is Black Widow officially has a release date for the moment. May 7th is the official release date for Black Widow. Should anything happen, that will very likely change. It doesn't seem like that's the case, and we're going to get into that in just a second. But as it stands right now, Black Widow, May 7th, moving on. Next has to do with Mortal Kombat, very briefly. Mortal Kombat, the movie reboot. I don't know why this is news. It has been rated R. What? No way! They keep telling us about how bloody and deadly this movie's going to be, and it gets an R rating? That's crazy. It should. The first two movies should have been rated R because of the subject matter which they were trying to adapt. Granted, the first movie did a pretty decent job of that. Not the greatest, especially if you go back and watch it now as an adult, but still, it should be rated R because fatalities and blood are kind of a mainstay in the franchise. So that's what we got there. Next, like I said, we're going to touch on this in a second. Theaters reopening. As of March 19th, so very, very soon, LA is giving the theater crowd the ability to reopen. So movie theaters will be able to reopen as of March 19th, as it stands right now, at 25% capacity. There's always that little caveat. So it's not the best. It's honestly not enough that they're probably going to be able to make enough money to survive on, but they might be able to keep their heads above water a little bit longer, in hopes that eventually they will be able to reopen. So that's potentially good news. And then our last follow-up has to do with Avatar. I don't know if you have had your head under a rock for the last couple of years, I guess. Avatar, which is really just Fern Gully in space, has been fighting with Avengers Endgame for the highest grossing movie of all time. When last we spoke about this, Avengers was wearing the crown, but then they decided they were going to re-release Avatar in theaters in China, and lo and behold, Avatar wins. A highest grossing theatrical release. That's the little caveat there. It's the highest grossing theatrical release of a movie of all time. But both of these franchises are now owned by Disney, so I don't see why this is really huge. Philip DeFranco said this the best when he said, that's like saying my left hand is better than my right hand. They're both my hands. Who cares? It's a little bit of lunacy. I'm not gonna lie. And the people who are taking umbrage with the fact that, they cheated because they re-released it in theaters. Yeah, so did Avengers. Avengers re-released it with quote-unquote extra footage, which was not really extra footage. It was just a little bit of like behind-the-scenes stuff at the end of the movie because they didn't have a stinger scene, whatever. It's silly. Disney's making a crap ton of money. That is what we've learned from this. Now let's move on to our actual news. First up, we're talking about a new Jeffrey Dean Morgan movie called Unholy. Really, just go watch the trailer. It's linked down in the show notes. April 2nd, 2021. Super excited about it. We're moving on. Our final piece has to do with Flashpoint. Technically, this is a series of follow-ups, but because it's a series of follow-ups, we put it in as a brand new news piece because it's my show. I get to do that. Flashpoint is, the first piece is Billy Crudup, who was supposed to play Barry's dad. Henry Allen was supposed to be played by Billy Crudup. Billy Crudup has left the project. I couldn't really find why. It sounded like it might have been some sort of scheduling conflict because it's been kind of on hold for so long. So that's the first piece. The second piece is Maribel Verdú has been cast as Nora Allen. So yeah, we lost one, we gained one. There you go. That's what we got. That is the movie section, nerds. Now let's get into the rumor mill. Rumor mill is, considering it's 2 episodes worth of rumor mill, it's kind of short, not going to lie, but whatever, we'll talk. So first we have a refutation from James Gunn himself about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. He's looking for a quote-unquote Zac Efron type to play Adam Warlock is not true at all. Because James Gunn said, if I wanted a quote-unquote Zac Efron type, why wouldn't I just go for quote-unquote Zac freaking Efron? It's not like I'm not working for 2 of the biggest production companies in the world. I would have the power. I mean, I'm definitely paraphrasing him at this point, but yeah, so that's not the active thing. One thing of note that a lot of the, again, more Gamergate kind of oriented outlets have been focusing on, probably a little bit too much, is that he said, if the character's skin in the comics is gold, why would I have to go for a white actor at all? So kind of hinting that he might be looking for a POC or a BIPOC to play the role of Adam Warlock. I don't really care because, like he said, the character's gold. Who gives a crap? So yeah, that's what we have for confirmations, reputations. In the actual rumor mill, we're moving first into Wonder Woman 3. It has been noted that Patty Jenkins might not be returning for the 3rd installment. Actually, I feel like she's kind of beat around the bush and saying as much. But so now, because of that, Zack Snyder is being rumored to be brought in as the director in order to quote-unquote save the franchise, because if you want to believe all of the rumor mongers and so on and so forth, then all of the things that you loved about the first Wonder Woman movie that were then absent from the second Wonder Woman movie were kind of at least began in the brain of Zack Snyder, and then Patty Jenkins threw all that stuff out for Wonder Woman 1984, and we saw how that happened. So if this is true, then it very well could be because Warner Brothers is saying, hey, we need somebody in here who knows these stories and knows these characters at least a little bit better. Honestly, in my personal opinion, I don't know if that person is Zack Snyder, but whatever, it's just a rumor, right? So the viability of this rumor is pretty low, to be 100% honest, because we have heard in no uncertain terms, and I will continue to say this until he says otherwise, from Zack Snyder himself, that once the Snyder Cut of the Justice League is released, which is next week, that's it. That's all we're going to be getting from Mr. Snyder. He's moving on. He's moving away from the DCEU. He's doing other projects. He's doing a zombie movie for Netflix, for crying out loud. So, likelihood that this is a thing, I'm going to put it at about 15%, and that's being generous. Our next rumor has to do with Man of Steel 2. This one is a continuation, kind of the previous one. So, Man of Steel 2, Henry Cavill is himself trying to still appeal to the upper-ups at Warner Brothers and AT&T to get the movie made, according to the rumor. This is a difficult one to believe because you're kind of speculating on the intentions of a person, and when this person is very tight-lipped about these intentions, you can't really speculate on that. But we do have a little bit of evidence to show that this, again, the viability here is pretty slim. Man of Steel 2 very likely would need a Zack Snyder because he kind of ruined it in the first one, so he would need to course correct. But they could get somebody else to course correct. And that's just my opinion. I know Man of Steel 2 is very divisive in the nerd community. Fight me. But so that's kind of dependent. We know he's not coming back, but also we know that Cavill, even though he does have a contract that says he's got so many cameos to do in the DC movies, which is very quickly going to be burnt out with the Shazam movies, I believe, and the Black Adam movies, but So Henry Cavill would need to sign a new contract, and we already know he's working on The Witcher, he's potentially working on the Mass Effect project, he's potentially working on a number of other things. If he's actively petitioning Warner Brothers to make a Man of Steel movie, when does he want to make it? 10 years from now? Is he still going to be that guy 10 years from now? Just doesn't add up. So viability for this one, I'm putting even lower, about 10% likely that this is going to happen. Our next piece of rumor has to do with Justice League 2 and 3. And continuing the trend, Zack Snyder's not coming back. He has not been coy about saying this. We need to squash these rumors at all costs because it's damaging. I'm losing my mind. Justice League 2 and 3 is not happening. I know it's coming from a couple of like really big leakers, really big like nerd rumor monger people. Oh, but it's not happening. It's not happening. Granted, this specific rumor says that talks are on the table. The option exists should Zack Snyder want to do this. But don't then take that and run and say, oh, it's happening, because it's not. Snyder has no interest in it. He wanted to finish his story with a 4-hour movie. Granted, it does reportedly end on a cliffhanger, but still, it's a 4-freaking-hour movie. I'm pretty sure he got out what he wanted to say. Viability for Justice League 2 and 3, we're going even lower, baby. 5% for 2 and 0% for 3. If he can't get it done in 8 hours or even 6 hours, it's not worth telling. Next, we're talking about Green Goblin. Willem Dafoe, reportedly, for the Spider-Man 3 movie. We've already talked about this. He's been seen on set. It's kind of sort of been half-ass announced, but now it is saying that not only is he going to be in this movie, but Sony wants to give him his very own spin-off movie as the Green Goblin. This is definitely grasping at straws. This is, not pretty. Not a good look on you, rumor mill. There's so much rumor for this episode that's just not gonna happen. This one has a sliver of possibility more than the other three that we just talked about because I want it to. No, but because like Willem Dafoe, there's not really a whole lot on his plate in the near future. It could be a one and done kind of situation, which would make a little bit of sense. We do have other rumors brewing for a different actor to be playing the character going forward in the MCU proper, so it could be an Elseworld story as well. Being as we know that Spider-Man 3 is going to deal with the multiverse, that kind of plays into that as well. So there is just a little bit more of a shred of possibility that this is going to happen. So viability for this rumor is probably about 20%. Willem Dafoe would be, if we can get him out of the Power Ranger suit, would be fantastic as a Green Goblin. I don't know for how much longer though, so it needs to happen soon or it's not going to happen at all. Our next rumor has to do with the Munsters. This is being reported by a lot of other outlets as fact, but they're only one source, and I'm going to give you the source on this. Murphy's Multiverse is the only place that's reporting that this is going to happen. There are a couple of other rumors attached to it that are coming from other sources, but they are rumor based on rumors, so those count even less. We're going to touch on one of those. So the rumor is that Rob Zombie is going to be making a reboot movie for the Munsters franchise. So there's a lot to unpack there. Rob Zombie does like the Munsters. He definitely has referenced them in song lyrics. He's talked about them in interviews. They've as an inspiration for him from childhood. So that's not really playing against this. It's actually playing for this. But Rob Zombie doesn't make that kind of movie, so that kind of is an interesting thing to consider. But also, he's going to put Sherry Moon Zombie in as Lily Munster. If he were to direct it, yeah, probably. But also, if he were to direct it, it would be like this dark, gritty, disgusting version of the Munsters. And I just don't see the mind of Zombie and the property of the Munsters really meshing super well in anything more than like a very, very superficial way. So that's really interesting. So we're gonna break this into two rumors. So the first rumor is that the movie's happening at all. It could be. It's really a stretch. We're putting this one right at about 20% as well, just because, there's a lot that you kind of have to forget about in the world of movie making. So the other half of this, the other rumor that we're going to be talking about, is kind of a couple of different rumors. So the first one is that they're going to change the character of Eddie Munster to be Lily's brother instead of Lily's son, and they're also changing the name to Lester. According to the rumor, as it stands right now, Eddie Marsan has been offered the role of Lester Munster. Lester, not Munster, because Lily's, whatever, I can't remember Lily's maiden name. It's been so long since I've watched the Munsters. But so if he does not take it, then the next person that they're looking at in line is Haley Joel Osment to play the role, the werewolf in the family, effectively. This one, again, this is definitely rumor based on rumor, so there ain't no way we're going above 50%. But considering the first part of this is 20% viability, this is not looking good. So much here again to unpack. They're going to change the Munsters, even though, like, they want to reboot the franchise, and they're offering it to two very different actors, and, like, no. We're not going to, I'm just not doing it. We're 10% viability. 10% viability. There is so little possibility for this to be happening. Moving on. Our next one has to do with The Batman. We have another source that is now claiming that the Waynes, before they die in this Elseworlds, we know Matt Reeves' version of the Batman is an Elseworlds story. In this Elseworlds story, that the Waynes are bad guys, effectively. I mean, the rumor puts it in different words, but that's effectively what they're saying. I can't remember what I gave the last one, but this time, it's such a bad idea, but it might happen. 50%. 50% viability here. Next, we're talking about Harley and the Joker. This is another rumor, and this is kind of coming back to this potential movie. So Harley and the Joker, back before the debacle that was the first Suicide Squad movie, was rumored to be on the table. It was going to be the Suicide Squad, and then the Harley movie, and then the Harley and Joker movie. That didn't really happen. We got the Suicide Squad, and then the Harley movie became the Birds of Prey movie, and then the Harley and Joker movie just kind of vanished off of the table. Well, now the rumor says that it's coming back. I don't know why it would be coming back. Jared Leto as the Joker, unless they're going to recast the Joker and do something else completely different with this, which is not what the rumor says. The rumor doesn't really say anything beyond, hey, they're considering doing this again. So I can't give a whole lot of credence there. A really slow viability in the rumor mill today, guys. We're going, again, about 15% likelihood that this is real. Next is Deadpool 3. There's two rumors here. First rumor, that Jim Carrey is going to be the villain for Deadpool 3. Who the hell is Jim Carrey going to play in a superhero movie as the main villain? Like, I mean, I know there's got to be somebody in the annals of the Marvel Comics that I just, no. No. Jim Carrey is rumored to be looking for some sort of superhero movie to do again because, you know, his version of the Riddler doesn't leave the best taste in most fans' mouths, so that is, there's got to be a better legacy that he can leave the comic book world. Nah, we don't really care, Jim, I'm sorry. We like your comedy, though, so maybe try that again? I just can't, there's nothing to back this up. Very, very little even in the rumors that suggest that things are going this direction. So likelihood for this, the viability for this rumor, 10%. It's 10% likely that this is going to be a thing. The other rumor about Deadpool 3, is Millie Bobby Brown is now being reported to be attached to the project, to be returning as Negasonic Teenage Warhead, because the girl who played her in the first two movies would be almost 30 by the time this movie gets made, so no longer a teenager. Negasonic young adult Warhead is kind of more likely. Such a weak source that I just apparently wanted to just poop all over the rumor mill today. So Millie Bobby Brown is looking to do more than just Stranger Things. This is pretty much well known. So like, yeah, that's one thing that plays towards this, but I feel like we're way too early in the process to be calling this at all, let alone the fact that that character very well might not even be in this movie. So, again, very, very low on the viability scale. I'll give this one probably about 10% as well, just because it's too ridiculous to go higher than that. And then we finally reached our final rumor, and that is Quicksilver. Quicksilver, a.k.a. Aaron Taylor Johnson, sorry, first day with the new mouth, is now rumored to be returning as Quicksilver, because we didn't get Quicksilver like we wanted in WandaVision, so now we're just going to go for the runner-up. Quicksilver, I don't understand today's rumor mill, guys. No, I can't put a whole lot of potential behind this either, because what? Granted, we don't know really what's going on right now for Aaron Taylor Johnson's work and for the next little while, so there is a slim possibility there, but again, I really can't. And the rumor is, and this is the only thing that's putting this up over 10%. The rumor is that he's going to show up in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, so like, because that movie is such a wild card right now, it lends a little bit of credence to pretty much any rumor attached to it, because we don't know how crazy they're going to go. We do know they're probably going to play it a little bit safer than everybody's thinking because of what happened in WandaVision versus what we were expecting. So I'll bump this up to 20% viability just because it is associated with that movie, but that's being generous. And that is the rumor mill, nerds. That's also the episode. What did I miss? What should we talk about in the next one? Let me know in the comments down below. If, though, you want to go deeper into the conversation, jump over to the website, generallynerdy.net. Patreon.com/generallynerdy is a place you can go get behind the paywall, stay up to date with the audio version of this. You can roll with it in your car on the way to work and never miss an episode. Always have all of the back catalog, so on and so forth. Thank you very much, nerds. If you also, there's other places. I'm on the social medias. I'm on all the things. Don't forget to subscribe if you have not already. I hope I have earned that subscription today. Ring the bell so you know when I post the episodes. If you're falling behind on your nerd news and you want to catch up through the video, then you can click or tap one of the buttons that is showing up right there next to my face before I head out officially. Always remember, nerds, that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.